Now, there are fears that hundreds of young girls removed from a polygamist sect in Texas may have been groomed for sex with adults. Police raided the compound after a 16-year-old girl made a desperate call for help. It could now result in one of America's largest ever child abuse investigations, as Sky's Enda Brady reports.
The sprawling ranch covers 1,700 acres, and as the largest abuse investigation in Texan history gathers momentum, the sheer scale of the task facing officers was spelled out by child protection workers.
We now have a total of 416 children who have been removed from the ranch. We also have 139 adult women who have chosen to accompany those children.
Days after raiding the compound, police still haven't found the 16-year-old girl who raised the alarm. Court documents allege she made claims of beatings and forced sex. The ranch remains sealed off, but the airspace above has been opened for the first time since the raids. Kathy Macon has flown over it dozens of times, chronicling its growth for the local newspaper. It looks dramatically different from what she remembers.
They used to run and hide. They would run to trees, they would bury their head, they would lower their heads down.
Authorities have been overwhelmed by the task of organising care for the hundreds of children removed from the ranch.
We've had requests for people to become foster parents, people who have information regarding those folks that are living at the ranch, and we also have people that are wanting to make really a tangible difference in the lives of these children.
Investigators say some of the children were unwilling or unable to give the names of their parents. Some even had identified multiple mothers. A warrant has been issued for the arrest of a 50-year-old man.
Among the hundreds of bewildered girls led away from the Texas compound, there was still no clue as to the identity of the 16-year-old who triggered what is now a massive sexual abuse inquiry. In whispered phone calls to police, she claimed her 50-year-old husband beat and raped her and that she was his seventh wife. Some of the girls taken from the sprawling rural site were already pregnant. Investigators say they were conditioned for marriage at puberty and were required to produce children. A number of men are still being held at the compound, built by the infamous polygamist Warren Jeffs, who was jailed last year after forcing a 14-year-old to marry her cousin. Many of the children are being housed in the local area, but one former member of a polygamous church believes most will go back, despite what they may have gone through.
I think most of them will want to go back because that's the only life they've ever known. I'm just hoping that the state of Texas has people that are trained, experts in psychology and therapy, that are trained in the Stockholm Syndrome and the mind control, because there really aren't very many people in this country, unless they're in the military, that have that training.
But today it will be legal challenges the authorities have to deal with. Attorneys for the church are trying to stop further searches of the 1,700-acre compound, which many have likened to a small, self-contained town. Welfare officers insist, until they know more, no child will be returning there.
Well, Michelle joins us from Washington. More than 400 children have been removed. Michelle, a huge operation there. What exactly are the allegations the sect is facing?
Well, certainly widespread allegations potentially of sexual abuse. As you say, 400 children have been taken away. What the authorities are saying is that some of the girls in that group were already pregnant, and clearly that would mean that some kind of sexual abuse has taken place. They don't know yet how widespread, and that's what they're looking into. But if you look at the court documents, they detail what they say was going on within the sect, that young girls were conditioned to believe that they had to become sexually active at puberty, and of course puberty is not a set age, so we don't know how young these girls might have been, but they had to become spiritually married to a man at that point and to produce children, and that young men within the compound were bred in the same culture, were inculcated with the same culture, and they became, as the court documents say, sexual predators as a result. In fact, one of the paragraphs in those court documents say that investigators that determine there is a widespread pattern and practice at the ranch in which young female residents are conditioned to expect and accept sexual activity with adult men at the ranch upon being spiritually married to them. So the investigators are looking into the precise details. They'll be talking to the girls. It's going to be a difficult process, Anna, because some of these young girls have never left that compound. It's a huge place. They have no experience of the outside world. So the authorities in Texas have to tread very carefully, but this could be a mass case of child sexual abuse.
Tell us a bit more about the sect itself, a spin-off of the mainstream Mormon church.
Yeah, it's called the Fundamentalist Church of the Latter-day Saints. It's a branch that broke away from mainstream Mormonism almost a century ago after it disavowed polygamy, and it's actually headed up by someone you may have heard of, the infamous polygamist Warren Jeffs. He's an American. He's in prison at the moment in Arizona, serving a sentence for forcing a 14-year-old to marry her cousin, but he is actually awaiting trial on further charges of incest and sexual conduct with a minor. He's very well known in America, but this is the branch that he headed, and we're told that the men inside that sect are told they will only go to heaven if they have at least 3 wives. So polygamy is condoned, and the bottom line is that polygamy is illegal in America, regardless of the age of the individuals. But I think the real concern at the moment is how many young girls have become involved in that particular culture. Regardless of the polygamy, it's the sexual abuse they're looking into at the moment.
Michelle in Washington, thank you.